Mesechta Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis. We're starting today's Daf is Yud Daled Amud Aleph. But we're starting from the Yud Gimel Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. V'chad Lo Samich. Yesterday we learned that 3 dayanim are the ones that have to be masmich, a person to be able to have an authority on to paskin even on knossos. No, it has to be emes dayanim. We're going to talk about it now. In fact, but we said 3 dayanim. In fact, v'chad Lo Samich. 1 dayan is not enough to make to give smicha to another dayan. There was a story with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda had said the name of Rav Beram in Emerson. We should praise. We should remember this man for the good. Who's that man? Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava Shmai. Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava was his name. If you remember yesterday, or a couple of days ago, we were praising a whole bunch of people with a baskel, and they said that when they passed away, they would eulogize. Hey, Onav, hey, Tzaddik, woe is to this Onav that we lost. What is that Tzaddik? A eulogy. But when it came to Rabbi Baba, they said, don't do it. We don't have time. The Roman king, he could change his Gezerah and we won't be able to bury him. So if we should bury him. Let's not make a hesped, because the king could change his mind not to bury such a person who rebelled against the government. And also, second shot, if you eulogize him, you might get those that are eulogizing will get punished. So we don't need it. So okay. So, but we're saying that we should remember him for the good. Why? If not for him, the whole dinim of knesses would be forgotten between the Bnei Yisrael. In fact, what do you mean? Forgotten about by the Yidden? Let the Yidden learn about it, and we won't forget about it. Ella says, you want to know, that's not the pshat. But lo dina knas be Yisrael. It means that the whole dinim of knesses would be in this battle, because the only person that can paskin on dina knesses is a dayim mumcha. And Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava was the last one. He had to be masmich others. So what did he do? Shepam achas goes mal sasha gzeira al Yisrael shekol asemich yaharek v'kol anismich yaharek. One time, this Roman government put a decree on the Yidden that whoever gives out smicha will be killed, and whoever will accept smicha will also be killed. The whole year, any city that had given out smicha in that city, the whole city will be destroyed. And don't think you're going to run to the outskirts and you'll have places there. No, also those tchumim which they relied on the outskirts, they will be destroyed. Tchumim means Tchum Shabbos, which is the 2,000 amas that you have. All the 2,000 amas around the city would be destroyed. So don't think they were threatening. They didn't want. They wanted this that the whole Yiddishkeit is also followed. Yes. What did Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava do? He went exactly in a place where there's no city to destroy, there's no tchum to destroy. He went between. Which place was that? Ben Ush Lishparam. He went between Ush and Shparam. And over there he gave smicha to 5 elders. And these are the people that he gave smicha to. Inzwischen wegen, wie man sagt. You couldn't. It wasn't a city that the Roman so the Romans couldn't say, "Oh, it happened here, and we'll destroy the city." No, it was between places where you couldn't destroy nothing. And who are the 5 people that he gave? Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. These are great people. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Laz ben Shammua, Rabbi Avi, Rabbi Nechemiah. All these people got smicha from Yehuda ben Bava, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava.
They killed them? Just prostate?
Not prostate. Talmidei Chachamim, nicht kein Dayanim. It wasn't Ish Mipi Ish. He had an Ish Mipi Ish from Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. And he wanted to continue it. And only those people, those type of Dayanim, could pass on knossos.
What was he waiting for? Why did he wait till then?
Okay, once the enemies became aware of it, what he did, he gave out smicha. Amalahan, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava saw that they know about it. He said, Bonai, meine Kinder rutzu. He said, my kids, atleift, run away. Amalai said, those that got smicha, Rabbi, Rabbi, what's going to be with you? Rabbi said, I'm stuck here, like a stone that you cannot turn over. meaning he was old. You couldn't move him around. And he says, listen, I'll try to be the one that they should get really angry. I'll tease them, and they'll take their minds off of you, and you guys could run. Of course, the Chayolim, the army, the Roman army didn't move from there till they threw in 300 spears into him and turned him in like a sieve. That's he looked like a sieve. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Fella. They threw 100 spears. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba achnine hava ba'adei. So says so. We have a question here. You see, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba was the only one that gave the smicha. How could he be one? You said you need 3 dayanim. So, and the Gemara, no, it wasn't only him. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba achnine hava ba'adei. There were others with him. There was another 2 with him. Why didn't we mention the other 2 that were with him? Mishum kveida Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Out of respect, out of Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, he was a great sage. We're going to put 2 other names next to him, so they didn't mention the names.
Maybe a Mufak doesn't need 2.
Huh?
Maybe he's a Mufak and he doesn't need other 2.
No, or you could say it was in a time of need, maybe, because the Romans made a decree, maybe.
There was an exception to it?
But they didn't make that. It doesn't seem like it was an exception.
So the other one had time to run away, though.
Yeah, they ran away. Says Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Samchei. You're saying Rabbi Meir, who was the one that gave him smicha? Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Whoever says that Rabbi Akiva didn't give him smicha is making a mistake. He got smicha from Rabbi Akiva. How do you say it was Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba? And the Gemara Samchei Rabbi Akiva, but like Kiblu. Take Rabbi Akiva gave him smicha, but the other Chacham didn't accept him as a Rav at that time. And Rashi says, like Kiblu Afish Adayin Hayabachor. Now it's not you been a younger man, Rabbi Meir. So therefore, some Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba only later on, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba gave him smicha and Kibbutz and they accepted. Yeah, but the second smicha is what counted. Others say that Rabbi at that time, Rabbi Akiva was gave shiurim in great depth, and Rabbi couldn't really get it well. So he went and he learned by Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, and only after he learned by Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba did he gain so much knowledge. He came back to Rabbi Akiva, he started to understand. With all the knowledge he had, he was able to understand. That's another piddush.
That's why I was recovered from him.
For Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. There's also Rabbi came from Nida, I think from Nida, who was from the Roman high officers. Nida was afraid, he didn't know what to do, so he went to a kid, he said, Pseikli Psuche. They would rely on kids saying a pasuk, and if the pasuk showed that it's not good, they would listen, the Romans. And
they were able to kill you after that.
No, but they would ask a child to see if they have success. So they would ask you, say, what did you learn today in yeshiva? They would ask a little kid, and the kid said that you should run and be Megaya yourself. That's where Rabbi came from Nida. Okay, Rabbi Shimon Levi, you have to look it over, I don't remember all the details. Rabbi Shimon Levi. Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Ein smicha b'chutz la'aretz. There's no smicha in chutz la'aretz. What does it mean there's no smicha? If you're going to say the loy doine dine knas kol b'chutz la'aretz, if you're going to say dayanim who are mumchim who mekabel ish b'pi ish from Moshe Rabbeinu cannot paskin on dine knases at all in chutz la'aretz. What are you talking about? But none. It's a beferish Mishnah, Sanhedrin. Even the Sanhedrin Aktana, which is done din in the fashes. No, Yehages bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. They can paskin even in chutz la'aretz on din in knosses. If they can paskin on din in the fashes, for sure they can paskin on din in knosses. What does it mean that they cannot give smicha outside of Eretz Yisrael? It has to be in Eretz Yisrael. Why? So here he brings you a pasuk that the reason why smicha ish pish ad Moshe Rabbeinu, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave authority to Moshe Rabbeinu. Where was that? In Israel. Very good. Ad Mascha, it says Lo Yehi El Ad Mascha. It says, and he gave it over to Yeshua and so forth, and that's where's the pasuk? I'm looking. Ish ish till Moshe Rabbeinu Meisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Shechina can only be Sheira in Eretz Yisrael, it says. B'chutz la'aretz, mipnei she'ein hashchina she'ein b'chutz la'aretz, u'kmei she'metzina b'mayit katan. And Rabbeinu shetish alav shchina ala she'bavel garmalei. Okay, he brought a raya that in Bavel is not where the Shekhinah is. So therefore, in order to get smicha, just like which should be ish mipish, from Moshe Rabbeinu had to be in a place where the Shekhinah is resting, just like the Shekhinah gave the authority to Moshe Rabbeinu. What did it happen in Eretz Yisrael? Beg you, Pshita. 1 second. Pshita is a pashta din. Seimchem the chutz laaretz, v'nismach ba'aretz. If those that have to give smicha are in chutz laaretz, and the nismachim are in Eretz Yisrael, those that have to receive the smicha are in Eretz Yisrael, ha'amrin l'dalai. Therefore, sure, he said he cannot give smicha. Ela seimchem ba'aretz. Let's say those that are giving smicha are in Eretz Yisrael. V'nismachim, and those that have to receive this smicha are b'chutz laaretz, are in chutz laaretz. What's the din? Could they receive the smicha or not? So, you want to touch my, come in here and I'll answer you. It says that Rabbi Shimon bar Abba was in great pain because Rabbi Shimon bar Abba was a prize student by him. He loved him a lot, and he wanted to give him smicha, and he was mitzvah because he couldn't give him smicha. He wasn't next to him. He would take 3 dayanim, and they would make him a.
Put their hands on his head. They have to give him a paper.
Rebbe. We learned it yesterday. They called him Rebbe, and that's how this smicha was done. Shma, Karalai Shma.
Why does he have to be there? It could be in the chutzlatz also.
No, chutzlatz you can't.
Send an email.
I just said, because we said the only way smicha has to be in Eretz Yisrael. It's ish mipi ish from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had to receive it in Eretz Yisrael because the Shekhinah is only resting in Eretz Yisrael. So he was.
Moshe Rabbeinu was not in Eretz Yisrael.
It says that the Shekhinah, where the Shekhinah could be. Moshe Rabbeinu, that's where the Shekhinah was, but the only place now, but the Shekhinah doesn't rest in Babel, it rests in Eretz Yisrael. And just like Moshe got it from the Shekhinah, that's how it has to be ish mipi ish. Yeah. Oh, I got the Shiloh. Nice to try. He's asking a good question. So he says, I just got my smicha again. I told you, they gave it out. I was by the ceremony. They gave me my smicha, Zalman Lapkovsky. Lapkovsky. I went to take my smicha again because I lost my paper the first time.
So you have to get the head again?
A little bit, not really, not much. No, it's schwach.
You can.
Reb Shimon ben Zayda, the Chadi, it says, Reb Shimon ben Zayda, there was another person with him. Umanu, who was the other person? Reb Yonis ben Achmai. Others say it was Reb Yonis ben Achmai, the Chadi, and who was the less chashva person, Umanu, that we didn't mention his name. It was Reb Shimon ben Zayda. So it was Machlekes. Who are the two people? Who was the one that was more chashiv? Because the one that's more chashiv is the name that's mentioned, and the one that says V'chad Imei, it doesn't say the name, that's a less chashiv one. So we have, there was a machlekes, who was the more chashiv one that we said his name? One says it was Reb Shimon ben Zayda, and the one that was the one with him was Reb Yonis ben Achmai, he was not the chashiv one, and another person says it was the reverse. Reb Yonis ben Achmai was the chashiv one, and the one that his name wasn't mentioned was Reb Shimon ben Zayda. The one that was next to him, he gave smicha to, and the one that was not gabayu, he did not he did not give smicha. So you have two incidents that we see that Rabbi Yochanan would not give smicha unless the person was in front of him. One was the story with Reb Shimon bar Abba. He was inside that he couldn't give him because he wasn't in front of him to give him smicha. That means he has to be in Eretz Yisrael. He cannot be that the one that's giving smicha is in Eretz Yisrael and the one that's receiving is in Chutz La'aretz. And then you had another one that Rabbi Yochanan wanted to give these two people, Rabbi Shimon ben Zayda and Rabbi Yonis ben Achmai smicha, but only one was next to him. That was the one that got the smicha. The other one didn't get the smicha. Zak the Gemara Rabbi Chanina with Rabbi Yishai, have a common stock in Rabbi Yochanan and smichinu. Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Yishai, Rabbi Yochanan tried very hard to give them smicha. Well, you have a mistaya milsa, and he wasn't successful. Have come in stayva tuba. He just wasn't. So he was in great pain, Rabbi Yochanan. So they told him, Rabbi Chanania and I'm sorry, Rabbi Chanina, but Rabbi Yishai said to him, please, Rabbi Yochanan, don't be in such pain. We come from the house of Eli. How do we know that the Beis Eli doesn't get smicha? Because it says that they won't live a long life. It says they won't live a long life. What What's the kavanah? What do you mean, zaken? Ilema zaken mamash. Does it mean mitvaisa beard that they're not going to end up to have white beards that they're going to get old? Well, see, I don't need a pasuk to tell me that they're not going to go old. We know the Bnei Eli, there was excited, they die young. But see, the Chol Marbis Beischa Yamos Anashim. It says all the children and people, they would die by the age of 18 years old when they become a ish, Anashim. And if you remember, the Gemara said, Benegeya, to what age is a child, a Yosim, understand business? When he becomes a man. And there was a machlekes, when is that, 18 or 20? But you see, there's a day that says 18. So they died at 18. So what are you telling me? Another pasuk of Zakin? But because Eli's kids, Eli was a Navi. He was a very special. He was a tzaddik. But his kids, gezindik. And there was Xeda that their descendants will die early. So Ella, so why do you have to say it again? Zakin? It says that, what did he say? How do you know? Because it says, I don't need a second pasuk to tell you they won't become old. So what is this pasuk? Zakin? Ella smicha. Rather that if they make it through and they make it to older age, they still won't make it. They won't get smicha. Where do we see that? Why would they make it through? So we learned the Gemara Brachos. How could they make it through? Rabbah made it through to 40 because through the schus of living Torah. Rava made it to that. He made it. Rava lived till 40. Rava lived from the Bnei Eli. Rava too was from the Bnei Eli. He lived to 60. So there, the Gemara said because in addition to the living Torah, he gave tzedakah, so he had additional 20 years. Yeah, over here he brings it out. Here it says, they were miskapet with Torah and gemilas chasadim. And so he's telling us, even those people that were nitzel and didn't die early, made it through old age, they still didn't get smicha. That's what he meant by zaken. Yeah, that's what he meant by zaken. Rabbi Zeda, Rabbi Zeda would hide in order he shouldn't get smicha. That he always put himself in the dark under the radar, so nobody should catch him to give him smicha. And he felt, hey, I'll stay away from Rabbanos Usara. Because he says, Harchik min Rabbanos Usara, distance yourself from Rabbanos and authority. Shemekavris says Baleim, because it buries those people who deal with it. With this, you'll live a long life. So he says, he wanted to stay. Here he brings down. So he said he wanted to live long. But once he heard the saying of Rabbi Lazar, huh?
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Ain't Adam Eila. No, he just not. Yeah.
Yesterday, I think.
Okay. Ain't Adam Eila l'gdula elim k'mechlei akol avenesav. A person doesn't go up to gedula only if he gets forgiven for all his avenes. So here. He wanted. It says mepnei seva talking about that mepnei zaken, and it says v'chiyagur itcha ger shem shager meichlim lo yakol avenesav. Just like a ger is forgiven on all his sins, kach misha l'gdula meichlim lo yakol avenesav. He heard that somebody goes up l'gdula, all his sins are forgiven. He made himself available because he wanted to get smicha, because he knew if he gets hired into a higher position. In a gedulatic position, a high position, his sins will be forgiven. So right away, when he heard Rabbi Lezer say that if you go into a high position, all your sins are forgiven, he jumped. He made himself available. He wants smicha. Machel. Yeah. So he says, when the Chacham were masmich Rab Zera, they sang this song, like Kachal. He's not, his eyes are not makeup. He didn't fill his eyes with makeup. It's a song. He doesn't have face makeup. He didn't braid his hair. He was natural bachein because of his Torah. And when they gave smicha to Rabbi Yam Rabasi, this is what they sang: Kol min dein smicha lanu. any like this person, anyone like this person is that we would give smicha to appoint him as a dayan. Meaning, but loy tismichu lano, loy misamitin. Don't give us. Let's don't be masmich such people who don't give the right timing. They don't know the real timing behind the psak dinim that they give. Like a smatut, a shmata, but it's not worthy of becoming a beged noah, a beautiful beged. They're like halb the bakken. They don't know the smartest behind it. Loy misamisin. These that are pashat mesaris, the mesaris means they are mahapich with the halacha through svaris hafuches, through svaris faketes svaris, the opposite svaris from what the reality is. Ve'amrulei loy machamisin are like chamsonim who hold back from telling the person, the baladin, the timing of behind the din. Ve'loy mitumisin, Rashi says he doesn't know exactly what it is. It's a sour bean, but he doesn't have a pirish for it. Yeah. Rabbi Avo, ki hava also be masif to the Kesa. When Rabbi Avo would reach from the Beis Medrash to the Beis HaKesa, because he dealt with Tzachei Tzibur, he would come to the palace. Nafki matronis to the Beis Kesa Masharian Lei. The women, the Cheshiva women, come out and call and sing Rabbo de Ame, the Nasi of his nation, Madberana de Umasei, the leader of his nation, Butzina de Nahira, the beautiful person. Rashi says that his beauty was Me'en Shuf de Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan was of the beauty of Yaakov Avinu. But the Gemara said, if you remember, Rabbi Yochanan, it never mentions about his beauty. So what do you mean that? Yosef also. Yosef, he was a splitting image of Yaakov. Yosef. So the thing is that everybody asked, we asked before, why doesn't it mention about Rabbi Yochanan's beauty? So the Gemara answered because he didn't have a beard at that time. But anyway, here he mentions that it is.
Has to be a beard with a beard?
With a beard, yeah, seems like it. Brich Maser Lishlam means Baruch Bayachal Shalom. Blessed, you're coming in peace, to peace.
How come the case was so happy with him? This wasn't the Roman?
Because he dealt with the, for Tzachei Tzibur, the case let him in. I don't know if it was the Romans at that time, but it was a time in the good times. With them, but they allowed.
And they were good with the Jews.
Yeah. Arifas Egla B'Shleisha. We said that when there is you find a dead person between two cities, they measure to which city it's closer to, and then they would take a calf and knock off his neck in front of 3 dayanim. Das soll sein the kapara for that city. We don't know who it is, but if they find out later, then they deal with it. It says in the Torah, it says plural. Zikenacha teaches us Shnaim. You need 2. Sheftach, because that's a Lashon Rab. And then Sheftach, which is a Lashon Rab. Shnaim is additional 2. So you have 4. And ain't Bezna Shakla. A Bezna cannot be even 2 and 2. You have to add 1 more. It should be a Reiv. You need 5 Dayanim by Egla Rufa according to Rabbi Yehuda. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Zikenacha Shnaim is 2. And ain't bezna shakel 2 you can't have a bezna of 2. It can be equal. So you have 3. Rabbi Shimon, hi sheftach ma'yavdlei. Well, why 3? It should be 5. Sheftach is also lashon ram. Says that you need that sheftach to teach us that these kenim have to be of the dayanim of the Sanhedrin Agdela. Where do you know about this? You need from the Sanhedrin Agdela. It says nafka. It says zikenacha. It could have said ziknei. Why is what's the extra line? That has to be from the miyuchadim, from the Sanhedrin, the Dayanim of the Sanhedrin Agdela. But Shimon said the Gemara, this harich saloshin. He could also learn out from the line gechav. So he says ziknei havamina ziknashuk. Even when they say ziknei, I would have thought the layman's Nishkit to mention had the eighties. That's why he wrote with a line to tell you it has to be Dayanim. And then the if it only says Dayanim Havamina Sanhedrin Ketana, it could be Dayanim even from the Sanhedrin Ketana. That's why because Achmanu Sheftach, that's why the Torah wrote the Sheftach. It has to be from the Sanhedrin Agdela. So Rabbi Yehuda. Gama Ziknei. Wait a minute, Rabbi Yehuda. How does he know you need this Sanhedrin Agdoila? So he says Gama Ziknei, because he used Sheftecha for another two and Zkenecha for two. So what does he know? He has to be from the best. So he says he learns it out from Agzeda Shava. From Par Helam Dav, it says there, there's some Ziknei Eidas Yedeyhem, and we learned in yesterday's daf what kind of Zikna Eida, where the Hey Ha Eida means from the Sanhedrin Agdoila, Malahalan, just like by the Ziknei Ha Eida, where it says Ziknei, it means Yimichadum Shabeida. They put their hands on the Par Helam Dava, on a sack that they gave to the Tzibur, and they made a mistake, and they did that, and they were even according to the Hira. And if it would have been Mabez, they would be Chayv Skila. So they have to bring, the Sanhedrin have to bring a Par Helam Dava. They put their hands on it. But what kind of skenim have to put on it? Skenim, which are miyuchadim, Shabeida means from the Sanhedrin Gedela. Afkan, so too, miyuchadim Shabeziknach, so too when it comes to Egla Arufa, we learn now it's Ziknei that has to be from the Yonim of the Sanhedrin Gedela. If you're in a dash and exotic Shabbat, Leilav Kulama Osam. Let us learn all the dinim there, that the same amount of Dayanim, everything. What are you learning and what do you need? Why am I making limudim from them? Just learn the Gzeda Shava. And the Gemara Ella, rather, no. We don't learn, they don't learn the Gzeda Shava. Babas Rabbi Yehuda doesn't dash the Gzeda Shava. Because the Gzeda Shava is dafke those that were given Sinai. So he holds he can make your own Gzeda Shavas. Ella, Rabbi Yehuda holds, how do you learn it out? He says the Vav from this Sheftecha tells you two Dayanim, and the Vav, Sheftecha tells you the Miyuchadim has to be Dayanim that are from Sanhedrin Gedela, and the Vav Vish Sheftecha is Liminyana comes to tell you about the two Dayanim. Rabbi Shimon L'Cheira, you should learn out from the Vav also another two. Why does it say only three? Vav Leidonish, she says, I don't dash in Vav. Elamiyat affect me mother. Since we're dashing is in Kenach Sheftecha, there are more words, plural words. It says V'yatzu, Shnayim, Umada two, they should go out, that's plural. Add another two. Umada two, Eichnayim is another two. So Rabbi Yehuda, they kantisha, in addition to the five that he said, add another
you
four.
have to say plural. You're talking about the two.
But he says the extra words.
So you continue. The two will do this, will do that, and do that.
He could have shortened it also, it says. Okay, so the these two words is adding, say it's Tisha. You're saying three, add another four, should be seven. Says he needs those two words for a limud. What? Like we learned in the Brayso. Yatsu. The word yatsu is telling us, hey, the Dayanim themselves have to go out to measure. They cannot send other shluchim to go measure which one is closer. Umadadu, what does it come to teach you? Umadadu, Shakilu Nimsa. Ba'alil, even though you can see clearly with your eye where the mace is closer to, it's a Ba'alil Le'ir, he says, Tzarech Lasik B'Medida, you still have to go out and make and do the measure. Doesn't matter how clear it is in your eyes. So, does not howl like this Tanya. The Tanya that we learned in the Brayso, Rabbi Lesben Yaakov, it says in the Torah, Yatsu, Zekeinacha v'Sheftecha. Zekeinacha, Zoi Sanhedrin, v'Sheftecha, Ze Melech v'Kohen Gadol. So Rabbi Lezer adds,
the Melech and the Kohen have to go out.
A Melech v'Kohen Gadol. Yeah, that they too have to be meshtatif in the measuring. Yeah. So he argues. Rabbi Lezer argues with the other two, who says only 5 or 3. According to Rabbi Lezer, you need more. You need the Melech and the Kohen Gadol to also. Melech, how do you know Melech is called a Shefet? Melech b'mishpat yamad aretz. A Melech in his judgment, he will establish the land. And so through Kohen Gadol we find it as a Shefet. So you see the Kohen Gadol is connected with Shefet. When you said Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov is arguing, was he only arguing that you need an addition to the 3 or the 5, a Kohen Gadol and a Melech, or he's arguing that even the whole Sanhedrin he's arguing about it? Here says Melech Kohen Gadol Polak. Is he arguing that you have to have in addition to what the other two were saying? You need to have a Melech Kohen Gadol. Aval b'Sanhedrin. Rabbi Yehuda, either he holds like Rabbi Yehuda that you need only 5 dayanim, or Rabbi Shimon that you need 3 dayanim. He's not arguing with those two. only that in addition to what they're saying, you need a Melech and Kohen Gadol, or you don't know, he argues he didn't with them. That the Sanhedrin, not in Polak, he argues in how many people of the Sanhedrin have to be there by the measuring. Maybe he argues also that it cannot be just 3 or 5 like the Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon are arguing. Maybe you need the whole Sanhedrin to measure.
It was 71, right?
71. I'm Rabbi Yosef. It's a sect Tashma coming in and line to you. Mitzon, Abis Pagi, if the Zakin Mamre, a Zakin Mamre is somebody who doesn't follow the psak of the Sanhedrin. Okay, I'm not saying that you're going to psak with Zayn Bnei Yair, and that's it.
He's older though.
Yeah, took for some bill. Abis Pagi, but the Sanhedrin was not by the Lishkes Hagazis. They were in a city called Beis Pagi, right next to, within the Chavis of Yerushalayim, within the walls of Yerushalayim. And they gave a psak in Beis Pagi. And this Zakin he rebelled and he gave his own psak. He gave a psak for his city together with his people in the city. I would have thought, oh, he's a Zakin Mamre. Is he in the gather of Zakin Mamre? No, he's not. Because the pasuk says, when is a Zakin a Mamre, rebelling against Sanhedrin, considered as rebelling? It says, it's mashma that only if the Sanhedrin were in the Makim where they're supposed to be, in the Lishkes Hagazis, and they give a psak, and he went against the psak where they made in their place, then he's a Makim, then he is a Mamre, Zakim Mamre. Melamed Shah Makim Goyrim. That the din of Zakim Mamre is not noyeg, only if he went against the Sanhedrin's psak, when the Sanhedrin were Belishkes Hagazis. But if they were out of their place, then he's not considered a Zakim Mamre. In fact, he wanted the Nafikama. It says the Chachmei Sanhedrin went out from Lishkes Hagazis to Beis Pagi. How many went? How many of the Sanhedrin went? If they say there was only part that went out and a part that stayed, he says, what's the shayla that he's not a Zakim Mamre? Maybe the ones that were left in the Lishkes Hagazis hold like he holds. These people of Sanhedrin, Beis Pagi, passing one way. He went against them, but maybe he had all the people that were left of the Sanhedrin that were left in the Lishkes Hagazis going like him. Says you're right. That's pshita. Pshita nafikula. Rather, we have to talk about they were all in Beis Pagi. In fact, you want to remind why would they all be in Beis Pagi? Elim with virus shoes. He's going to say they went strolling for no mitzvah. In fact, you want to mean what's nafki? Are they allowed to leave the Lishkes Hagazis for Inyan Reshus? Like see, it says in the pasuk, Saturday Chagan Hasa Al Yascha Mezek. From this pasuk, we learn out that the Yonim are not allowed to leave the Lishkes Hagazis only if 23 dayanim were left over. Like mezek means you in strong wine, you have to add a third of water to take away the strength. So you need a third of the Sanhedrin Agdela, which was 71. You need a 23 to remain there. So how could they have all gone out? Pshita was l'dva mitzvah for a mitzvah. In fact, you want to hit what could be a dva mitzvah? Lav. Is it a not? L'mdidus hagala. They were all out there measuring the mace, which city is closer to. So the whole Sanhedrin. It follows Rabbi Elazar Yaakov, who says you need the whole Sanhedrin. So Yavaraya, Rabbi Elazar Yaakov is arguing with everybody, even with the gay. How many of the Sanhedrin had to be by the measuring? He says all of them. Abai said no. It could be it's talking about that they came to be marchiv the city of Yerushalayim or the Hazaris. The only way that you can expand the city of Yerushalayim or the Hazaris only with the 71 of the Sanhedrin. So maybe that's where they went, not for the for the Agla Rufa. So you want to tell you Rabbi Yosef? No, he learned in the Brayso exactly like Rabbi Yosef. With some by a Beis Pagi, if they found the whole Sanhedrin in a Beis Pagi, Himra Aleim, Himra Aleim, and this Zakin went against with the psak. You're going to Yatsu Limdidus Agla. Here he gives the case. Why would the whole Sanhedrin Beis Pagi? Because they went to measure for Agla Rufa, or they went to add to expand in the city or in the Hazara. I would have thought he's a Zakim Mamre. Talmud Lema, but come to at least Alamokim. That you should get up and you should go up to the Mokim. Only if the Sanhedrin were in their place in the Lishkes Hagazis and they gave up Sak and the Zakim went against it, then he's a Zakim Mamre. has to be
If they went out, even
if they all, we're talking about it all that went out. So here we proved that. But Lesman Yaakov says, what was the case of that they were all in base page? So he gave two cases in the Braisa.
Yeah, but
And
when can
amongst
he
them
become a
was
Zaken
by the
Ma'ameh?
Eglah Rufa. So you see,
When can he become
Rabbi
a
Lesman Yaakov argued with Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon that it cannot be 3 or 5. You need the whole Sanhedrin. Yeah,
So
what's
when
the
can
question?
become a Zaken Mamre? Only
When the Sanhedrin are by the Lishkas Hagazes, they gave up sack there. But if they're not there, the Zaken won't be a Mamre. Not the Revai, Umaisa Shein Shein Damri, you do it in Shleisha. Not the Revai is the 4th year you bring up the Peiros to Yerushalayim. A tree you cannot have another first 3 years. It's Arla. And the 4th year you bring it up to Yerushalayim. Maisa Sheni you bring up to Yerushalayim. What's if it's a case, Ein Dam of you doing? What does that mean? What does it mean, Maisa Sheni? You don't know the value of it. Peiros Sheikh Kibu, it's talking about Peiros that were rotten. The Yain Sheikh Kibu, or wine that became vinegar. Or you could bring it up, but you have to know what the value is. Or Sheikh Lidu, if you want to make an exchange and bring up just money and not schlep so much, you have to find out what's the real value. Or money that was rusted. Yes, you can't leave it in that way. You have to bring up to Yerushalayim. Ma'aseh Sheni, you have to bring up to Yerushalayim. So they didn't want to bring up so much payers, but it was rotten. So you have to see what the value is in bringing up money in exchange for money that you don't have to schlep. You can read. Yeah, you have to exchange it for money. You would have to bring it up. It's not fully rotten. But it's okay. So you can redeem it with 3 buyers. But not with 3 that are not buyers. So he says, even if one of the buyers who are evaluating the value is a goy, is good. And even if amongst them is the owner of these payers, he could be the one. No, we say he could evaluate it together with another 2 lekuches. Yeah, a part of the 3 that it could evaluate. Yes, part of the 3 lekuches. 3 shutfim, they keep the money in one pot. Ma, what's the din? They're all shutfim, so maybe you should have different opinions for different type of lekuches, because these 3 shutfim, they work a certain shnit. So maybe you need 3 different lekuches. Toshma says, you want to come in and I'll answer you. Ishu shtei banav, a man who has 2 wives, they could redeem Ma'aseh Sheni, they could say what the value is, even though it's his 2 wives. So the chayda, it's one with him. Says Yimanis Nishkenaya, Dilma Papa Ubash Abasura. Maybe a papa, we're dealing with a papa whose wife was Bas Abasura, who she says, Aiden the Zanis, I want to make my own earnings, and she held her own business. So maybe that's why it was considered as a separate lekuches. So you have no raya if they're shuttim. She wasn't a shuttim. So Hagdesh is Mishleisha. Hagdesh can be redeemed with 3. Masin the Loki Haitana. How much doesn't follow this Tana? The Tanya that we learned in the Braisa. The Lesman Yaakov, I feel it's a Nader Shal Hagdesh. Sichasar B'nei Yodam. Even a Tzinayra, what time is that? Might have 5:15. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow.